the look on Bernard Lackner's face
when
he walked by, and I'm like this, you know.
Right.
He walks by me, he goes, "What are you doing?"
Seriously?
Yeah.
We are back with Real Talk, a new episode, and we have a very special guest. He's so hard to get. I'm stuck the booking. An industry leader. He's DE, Douglas Elliman CEO, formerly Corcoran's COO, God's Love We Deliver board member, avid equestrian, spiritual guru, underwear model. Right? And my friend, so Scott Durkin, welcome.
Thank you,
Thanks
Stephen
for doing
Cohen.
this.
Wow. How long have we known each other?
23 years.
23 years.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah. Started at Corcoran. And I have a funny story. I think I've told you this before. So 23 years ago, I'm in the office late at 660 Madison, and you happened to be in, and you came over, like it was late. No one else was in the office. You came over to my desk and you handed me, remember we used to have those nameplates above our desk, the gray nameplates? So you said, "Oh, here, this came in." And I said, "Thank you." And then you walked away. And then
Such high level.
what's that? Yeah.
Such high level.
I was like,
things
wow, look what the COO does here. And then
That meant I was snooping in the mailbox.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Then you popped back around. I had just gotten a haircut and you said, "I love your hair." You whispered and pointed. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to love it here. Like, this is great. So anyway, that's my sweet memory.
I'm glad I said it then.
What's that? Yeah. Oh,
Don't get.
jeez.
I'm kidding.
Wow. Going right in there.
I went right there.
I know. God, I had a lot more hair.
Oh, I have a big egg here.
Oh,
It's
but
awful.
You look great. You always look great.
Mm.
Okay.
Vanity.
Vanity. Yes. All right. So we don't really need to break the ice, but we're going to do pit and peak. You know what that is?
No.
So it's kind of like rose, petal, thorn, which we do in my family, but pit and peak. So the last 30 days, what's been a highlight and what's been a low point? Personal, business. It could just be like you were annoyed this morning.
Wow. You know, I'm always
Positive.
yeah,
You are.
I know.
You actually
Glasses
are.
always half full.
Yeah.
You know, I think I always say to people that complain a lot, you can't be the hero and the victim.
Ooh,
And
that's good.
Isn't that a good one?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What's been a highlight?
A highlight for me is that on a personal level, I have a brand new horse that
Yes.
I rolled every roll of quarters I had to get, and he's turning out to be pretty phenomenal. So
All right. Name?
his name is Toronto Lightfoot,
Wow.
and he is
How old?
10, and we have our first competition.
Wait, 10
years
old. Okay. So, new, right. Not because you had,
I had a baby. Yeah,
you had
we
the
have a
baby.
baby, yeah.
You didn't have a baby.
I had the baby.
One of the horses had a baby,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right. Okay. This is not, you've acquired a new horse.
Right.
Is this a new name?
Yes.
So when someone acquires a new horse, they rename.
No.
Oh.
I kept the name. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
You try to keep the name because when
the
they go
past
back,
history,
yeah,
right,
you
yeah,
need the
okay.
lineage and
Got it.
it's. But I'm super excited. We have our first dressage at Devon next weekend.
Wow.
In Pennsylvania.
Devon. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I know
used
you're
to
from
grow
it.
up near
Yeah.
there. Yeah. We used to go to the Devon Horse Show.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where I'll be.
Oh, wow.
And so it's his first. My trainer is super excited, and
right.
he has some international qualities that, will get him in a certain level
And
of
where's-
competition.
How did he come to you?
My trainer's coach,
Okay.
an Olympian from Denmark named Lars Peterson, said, "You guys should look at this horse. It's
And the horse was in
it was
Denmark?
in Wellington,
In Wellington.
Yeah.
Okay.
where we
That's great.
spend the winter
Yes.
for the season. For
Congratulations.
the circuit. Yeah,
That's
so that's
exciting.
great. Let's see something.
It doesn't have to be.
Oh, cool.
I
really?
mean, if there was a particular, but no, you really are positive.
it's terrible. My clothes are
That's
fitting.
terrible, Muriel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your clothes
My
are
clothes
fitting.
are
You look
fitting.
good. You can't complain about it.
The hair keeps falling out. That's what bothers me.
Okay.
That's
There's your pit.
that'll do it.
Really?
Especially for men.
Stabilized.
You
I
know,
know.
you start wearing the hats.
Yeah.
And you look like a duck.
Yeah. But you know what everyone's doing? I was out with the representative of a client of ours. He had just gotten back from Turkey. You know,
Oh,
everyone's
everyone's
going
there.
to Turkey to get their hair done because of the laser. I'm not.
So they laser it into your scalp?
They do, and they take it from other areas, and apparently it works. But I'm not doing it.
Oh.
So there you go. You had a good friend that did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me that years ago.
You
said he looks completely different.
Yeah. He said that he had done what you did. It was coming out.
Right.
And he shaved it. He shaved his head.
Went short. Yeah.
Yeah, like really short.
Yeah.
And then he did a documentary, and then he said to me, I look like Uncle Fester. And in the documentary, he's wearing this turtleneck, this orange turtleneck, like a cowl neck. And he does look like Uncle Fester.
That is funny.
Yeah.
We're not saying the name, but Kirk worked with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll say it. Maybe we'll cut it.
You can
out.
say it.
On Die Mommy Die.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's Charles Bush.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
I mean, he's a
there you
legend.
go. All right.
He'd be the
secret's
first
out.
to tell that story.
Right.
Yeah,
there
he
you
loves
go.
it.
Uncle Fester.
And
Okay.
please get his new book. It's just brilliant.
What's the book?
The name of the book is Leading Lady,
Okay.
a memoir of a most unusual boy.
Wow. So it's
For those of you that know his
autobiographical.
work,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know, he always says he's a gender illusionist, but he's
wow.
you know, he's not a drag.
How do you know
queen.
him?
I volunteered to work to help mail out for his play in 1988
No.
called Psycho Beach Party. So
I
I was
remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
you folded the paper over and then you put an orange sticker on it.
Yeah. Oh, and look where you are now.
Look where I am.
Look where it got you.
I've done it all.
You've done it all. All right, so let's take a step back. You've done it all. We're going to work up to how you've arrived here. You're CEO of one of the leading real estate firms
Fifth in the nation.
In the nation. That's
Wow.
amazing.
God.
Did you think you'd be when you were younger? Was it real estate or no?
No, I wanted to be an actor.
Okay. Oh, there's the Charles Bush. Okay.
Yeah.
And so step back. You grew up where?
I grew up in upstate New York, in a
Right.
beautiful town called Salem, New York. A lot of people think it's South Salem or
Yeah.
North Salem. It's way above Saratoga.
Okay.
We bordered with Manchester, Dorset, and Bennington, Vermont.
Okay.
So it was Washington County is a vertical county.
Yes.
And I was raised my father was the undersheriff of the county.
The undersheriff.
Yes. So we lived on the premises of the jails.
Right.
The jail. We had a house next to the jail.
Prison, jail,
Yes, it was a jail. And there
Okay.
were 30 cells.
cells.
And our windows, we faced the cells. And
Wow. How many siblings?
3. There's
Okay.
4 of us. But the interesting part of that, though, is that this particular county jail, you could only stay a year. It wasn't violent crime. It
Right. I was just going to ask.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
was
Got it.
petty crime.
Any funny stories being the son of the undersheriff of a jail?
Well, I used to go to the dentist in a police car.
Oh, because mom couldn't take you or
Dad would take me, and
right.
the dentist was about 40 minutes away. But it was nice arriving to the dentist in the
Oh, that's
police
so
car.
like a police escort.
Yeah. And I
That's
was
funny.
arrested by my own father once.
Okay.
You know,
Go ahead.
well, it was Cabbage Night, which for us that's the night before Halloween.
Okay.
Some people call it Mischief Night.
Oh, mischief night.
Yeah, we
yeah.
called it Cabbage
Why?
Night.
Where did cabbage come from?
I guess people threw cabbages. Well,
Oh.
we went around town throwing pumpkins,
Right.
and we got caught. And
And your dad was the one
Yeah,
that showed up.
yeah.
And
he's like, "Get in the car." You know.
he pressed charges.
He didn't go to bed.
Did
But
your
yeah,
friends? He pressed
I let
charges?
them all go. I
Right.
said, "Just run."
Oh,
you know.
you were the scapegoat.
I was.
Oh, all right.
I took the hit.
You took the hit.
Took one for the team.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so
Country boy.
country boy. Yeah.
Police parents. My mother was a deputy, but her gun was fake.
I never knew that.
Yeah. My
Okay.
mom, Sylvia.
Yeah.
Her gun was fake. It was Mayberry RFD.
That's what it
Yeah.
sounds like. That's amazing.
I even had an Aunt B. You know.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I had a big brother who was the star of every sport
Oh wow.
and every girl. So
Huh?
I was protected.
And where's he now?
He just retired from General Electric.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still up there.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Everyone's still up there. My parents are gone, but
Right.
my siblings are up there. And it's great to go back.
That's so nice that you have. So when I go home to Philadelphia, I don't go home to my childhood home. My mother sold that years ago, but she moved to an area where it seems like all the people in my neighborhood migrated, and it's beautiful. It used to be really horse country, but it's been built up a lot. There's still horse farms, but it actually kills me when I see all the building.
I know. You know, I can't go home because our home is a thrift shop now.
Seriously?
The entire
is the jail
home.
still there?
The jail's still there. It was donated to the town for $1, and they have a lot of educational programs.
And there's a thrift shop.
And it's a thrift shop. My bedroom is a storage room.
Oh my God.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know,
that's like a quirky.
I'm so thankful that Airbnb exists because now
you have somewhere to stay.
I just find like, you know, a 9-room mansion and
that doesn't cost a lot.
Right. And you're like, oh yeah, this is home.
That is so funny. All right. So how'd you get to New York from there?
I wanted to be an actor.
Yep.
I had done summer stock in my 9th, 10th, all through high school.
Yeah.
We had a Fort Salem Theater, a theater in town. And it was populated by the Fordham University acting school.
Right.
So I got to meet everyone from the city.
Okay.
And spend the summer. As soon as I would wake up, I'd run down to the theater, and it was an old church. And I would stay there until midnight.
That's amazing.
All my summers. So I thought, oh, I'm going to be this big star.
Right. And you really thought you had stars.
Not star, but
really
I thought, you know, I was in Fiddler on the Roof.
Right.
And I didn't even know what it was about.
What you mean in the church, at the local theater?
Yeah.
Who did you play?
I was a bottle dancer.
Oh, that's impressive.
Couldn't keep that bottle on my head.
The scene where, at the wedding, where they go low.
Yeah. What do they call them? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had to carry Frumacera around a lot. Right?
It's all true.
And I never knew, we didn't have any Jewish people where I'm from.
Right.
Well, we had one family.
Okay.
And she was my best friend.
All right.
The Abrams. And they had a bottle of Manischewitz.
What was her name?
Lori Faye Abrams.
And you're still friends?
Yes, her daughter. Do you know who her daughter is? Jessica Kroll.
Oh.
In PR.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Well, she's here because of you.
Well, I sent her to interview with Stephen Larkin.
Right.
And I said, you don't have to do me any favors.
Right.
He's like, I love her. And that was 6 years
that's
ago.
So funny. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there we are. And I was in Fiddler and a lot of musicals. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go to New York and be an actor. Little did I know.
Mm-hmm.
I had 41 in my graduating class.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it was
you were
such
small
a small
town.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you arrived in New York, what year?
1980.
Okay. And
I had to audition
right.
at Delphi University in Garden City for the theater program. And it was a disaster.
Did you ever do anything professional?
No. And then someone walked into the room during my audition.
Yes.
Just like the movies,
yeah.
The doors slammed and I went right out of character and I just looked at like, oh, who's here?
Right.
You know, they didn't even let me finish. I never got to the upbeat, the up tempo. And they were like, oh, you just need a little more time. And I was like, you sure? You sure? Can I be in the tech theater department? Then I walked across the hall and got a scholarship for modern dance.
Okay, well oh my God.
I know.
Really?
Can you believe that?
How do we not know all this?
Well, you never want.
You don't want people to know.
Yes, and then
dance?
they ask you to dance. Right. And you're like, are you kidding? Really?
Okay, at Aspire in Palm Beach.
Right. You want to see me do some Martha Graham?
Well, Howard played the piano in London, so
he did.
You could have done an interpretive.
It's just my sunny disposition.
Are you a good
talent.
dancer?
I was not. I was not.
Do you like dancing? Like if you're at an event, are you comfortable dancing?
Nope.
Okay.
No. But I carried a lot of people across the stage.
Right.
And I got
what's
a
her
scholarship.
Name?
From a Sarah.
From a Sarah. Uma Thurman from a Sarah.
Come from beyond the grave.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that scene. It scared me a little when I was little.
That's how Nick Raffaello broke his back.
Seriously?
Yeah. Not broke it, but he ended his dance career. He was in the National Company of Fiddler. And Fruma Sarah, he went backwards on him.
That's
yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Or not fun.
Fact.
Yeah. Okay.
So
then
I was a dancer.
Modern dance. And then what?
And then the realization that
It's not happening.
dancers don't go to college to become dancers. Right.
Right.
You don't have the time.
Right.
You're aging out.
Right.
Before
During,
you know it.
yeah. While you're,
And some of the classes, how to apply for food stamps when you're not on tour, that was kind of scary. And I thought, I'll never get on tour.
Right.
I think I said to the real
focus.
deal once, I thought I was Baryshnikov, but I looked like Mickey Rooney. So I knew right away that, okay, this was not where I was headed. And I went into hospitality.
At the Pierre.
At the Pierre.
Immediately at the Pierre.
Well, I tried to get into the Pierre.
Okay.
My French wasn't good enough. So there was a reception and front desk position,
right.
A greeter. And Bernard Lackner, who's one of our great friends, he runs Fisher Island, he was running the place, and he interviewed me. And of course, he speaks like 6 languages.
Right.
He started talking to me in French, and I'm like, La chambre a une belle vue, like the room has a good view of Central Park. And he's like, you're not fluent. And I said, no, I only did 4 years of French. He said, I'm sorry, but we really need multilingual. Well, I went back to HR, and they were like, we really like you. And I said, I want to work here.
Right.
And it was a 4 Seasons hotel.
How old were you?
I was 22.
Okay.
And she said, well, I don't want to offend you, but we have one other position. I said, what is it?
Yeah.
Midnight elevator operator.
Oh, no.
So the Pierre's a co-op end of the 4 Seasons hotel at the time. So every elevator is manned.
Yeah.
You have a little suit and white gloves, a lot like the Peninsula. They look like,
yeah.
So here I am. I said, I'll take it,
How long did you do that for?
I don't know, 6 months.
How did they?
You should have seen the look on Bernard Lackner's face when he walked by, and I'm like this,
Right.
And he walks by me, he goes, what are you doing?
Seriously?
Yeah. How did you get here? I said, well,
they offered. Yeah.
I'm not supposed to talk in the elevator, so I don't need to speak French. And he just started laughing. So then I ended up at the end of my run there, which was about 6 years, I was the assistant manager of the hotel.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that ties into our friend Mary Jo McNally, whose birthday it was the other day, and I had the wrong cell.
Did she get back to you?
She immediately got back to me. And I found the thread, like I was just on a wrong text thread. She and I started. Was she your boss, or you worked for her?
She was the director of sales.
Right, and she'd wear the scarves.
The scarves.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the big padded shoulders.
Right.
It was the 80s.
Yeah. So you brought her in 2000. That's when I started in real estate, and she and I started our training with Mitchell Lawrence.
Yes.
At Corcoran together. So 23 years ago. And
I
then
remember
we sat side by side.
How Barbara. That's another topic.
Yeah.
But we'll get to, I know.
Barbara Corcoran.
Yeah. It's the first time I saw her get jealous, because I was so fond of Mary Jo.
Right.
And I say jealous, but I could tell it. She thought I loved her too much.
Right.
But she was great.
Yeah.
And then amazing. She ran education for
oh my
Corcoran
God,
group.
for Corcoran. She took over Mitchell's.
Yeah.
In the Mitchell Lawrence Education Center downtown.
Do you know, my husband Dave, who's an agent as well, Mary Jo used to have this quote when we would teach, and she would introduce me, and she was one of my first customers. I sold her
on Park Avenue
at 1235 Park.
I didn't know that. Her and Dan.
Yeah.
I've been to that apartment. Yeah.
So, at that time you were not allowed to bring your agent with you if you were showing up for a Sunday open house.
Right.
It was forbidden.
Yeah.
You had to make an appointment with your client.
Right.
So I sent them in incognito. She had a beret and sunglasses and completely unrecognizable. And then they said, they ran to a payphone to call me. Yeah. I was waiting at home.
Right.
But Mary Jo would always say to the class, and in 1992, we ran to the nearest payphone because there were no cell phones.
That's so true.
So now in 2023, I will sometimes just
wish for a payphone.
No, I'll just say to Dave, because in 1992, we didn't have payphones. It's become sort of like this sort of
your thing.
Yeah.
That's
but
cute.
Mary Jo was great, and she really brought an amazing level of, this is about making people happy and giving great service. And we couldn't have had a
Your
finer
training could not
person
have been better.
from Four Seasons.
Both of you from Four Seasons.
Oh my God.
To Pierre.
The Isidore Sharp. Richard Branson takes credit for this quote, but Isidore Sharp had the quote first.
Which is?
A happy employee is a happy guest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that was all over the hotel in the back of the house.
Really?
Posters and stuff like that. But they were phenomenal to work for.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go there, but where the world is today.
Yeah.
And people are not satisfied or happy or I don't know.
No, you're right.
I don't want to, that's negative, but there is a lot of that. I think people are struggling with that.
What'd you call it? A pip and a poo?
Poop. Sorry. Pip and a poo.
Sorry. Pip and a
We're renaming
pro.
It. What are we called? A pit and a pit or peak?
Oh, one of the pits for me recently, I was in the hotel. And when I go back.
We would have breakfast there.
Yes, we did,
yes.
right? When we were sneaking, getting you back. And then I would walk through the hotel and everyone that's still there are a couple people that still remember me. But I went into the rotunda and every single chair in the tea room had food stains on it.
Oh.
And it really annoyed me.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's sad.
It is. So I took photographs.
Oh.
And I sent them to the general manager. Right. And I said, yeah, you really should have these cleaned.
Right. Good for you. No, there's a level of pride. That's what it is. There's a level of pride that I don't feel is out there as much. I don't want to say everyone, but all right, I sound like an old man complaining about the new generation. Anyway, talk about timing and like the difference of 23 years. Mary Jo in 2000 or 2000 or 2001, I think it was 2000, maybe around that time, it was AOL Time Warner, okay? He was, I don't remember who it was, but it was one of the executives of AOL Time Warner or whatever was going on over there. And she sold him, I remember, a $2.5 million apartment. And it was a lot of money. And that was her first big deal. And we were in awe that she was working with this big executive. And
well, I have an interesting one to go with that. I had the deal of the year in 1995.
Okay.
At
Corcoran.
At Corcoran, at the Hampshire House, 3.9 million.
That was a lot back then.
Huge, right? Yeah. I still have the Tiffany bowl, keeps my change in it.
Right.
And Joanne Douglas and her team just sold that for 35 million.
Oh my God, that's a good story.
Yeah, so 10 times the price.
That's amazing. It's incredible. See, New York. Oh, we're in a little bit of a lull, but it always goes up.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, the trajectory is always going up, even with the dips. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Douglas Elliman. First of all, you're CEO, you're so natural in it. I mean, you've kind of been building to this for a long time. And obviously your career keeps going up and up. Do you ever take a moment and look back and say, look where I am?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
What's unusual for me, and I don't know how to sort of articulate it where you won't think I'm nuts,
We think you're nuts. Go ahead.
No, but I think it was, I knew it was there and I knew it was in the cards, but I didn't know when.
Oh.
So, and I'm not saying, wow, I'm Mr. Big Stuff. I knew it was happening, but when I went to my my spin instructor, who is also a numerologist, Daryl.
Okay.
Daryl said,
Daryl's number later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, I'm, for your birthday or whatever, I want to give you a reading. I just need to know pertinent things, what time of day you were born, where you were born, blah, 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 blah. And so we had our session and he said, he gave me dates, not I mean, he gave me like November, December,
Right.
January. And that's when I did the move from Corcoran. And he told me everything that was, this is happening.
Right.
So then, of course, and this was well before, it was the spring, and I joined in the winter. But Noble Black comes in to our Chelsea Corcoran office, my number one agent.
Yeah.
And he says, this is goodbyes.
Yeah.
And
did you have any idea Noble was leaving?
Mm-mm.
Right.
No.
I know this story. Go on.
Yeah.
I want to go on.
So then it was emotional for us because I was one of his first managers. And we're super close, like we're close.
Yeah.
And he just felt terrible. And I just was like, don't worry about it.
Right. You'll be fine and I'll be fine.
I know our paths will cross again. Well, of course, Noble was involved in me getting the interview, which I didn't know.
Right. Oh, really?
No, I didn't know that for a long time. But he has said to Howard that, you have to interview Scott because I'm leaving him behind and you can't just let him stay there and I want you to see him.
Wow.
So that happened. And at the same time, I had the reading and it took a long time to get here. I had 3 interviews with Dottie.
Right. Oh, Dottie.
Yeah. And then I finally emailed Ken Haber and said, okay, I'm nudging you because I don't know what's happening.
Right.
And, the company was growing then. It was, the market was phenomenal. Everything was happening. They didn't have time for me.
Right.
And in a good way.
Yeah. I got it.
They didn't know what they were doing. And so then I finally met Howard, which was like.
Is that the first? But you had known him.
No, I'd never met him.
Never met him.
Okay. Never seen him.
Right.
Didn't know anything about him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And look at you guys now.
I know, but some buddies.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So I went in there thinking, wow, we are so polar opposite. But that's a good thing,
You thought that going in or after you met?
I thought that, because
you are different, but you work so well together and you complement each other.
Thank you. I think going in, that helped me get rid of my jitters.
Right.
So we had a really great meeting, and he's wonderful when he's in his office. And
you're the only one there.
You're the only one there.
You could be in a crowd, and when you're talking to him, you're the only one there.
Yeah, it's great.
Bill Clinton is
I was just going to say, but
he's the same
Bill
way.
Clinton is the same way.
Yeah.
So that happened, and it didn't happen, though. I didn't know I would be in this position then. I was just coming in to be on the leadership team, and I had a non-compete for 9 months, so I had to sort of disappear into Connecticut.
Right. Oh.
And become,
got it. Yeah.
I didn't have a real clear picture of what possibly was ahead of me, but I felt that it was there.
So when you said it's not like, I thought I was all that, I truly, first of all, we all have, call it our greatness or our greatest, we know our own potential, or maybe we're afraid of our own potential. But we do have inklings of, I always say everything I have in my life is because I was able to visualize it.
Totally.
And that's the same thing. Even if you know something, I mean,
a lot of people laugh at The Secret.
Oh, no.
I totally, I believe it.
My friend Jimmy
Your vision boards?
He's one of my best friends from home. And he years ago would tease me because I would talk about energy all the time. No, of course. Listen, I believe we're all spiritual beings living in a short period in physical bodies.
37,000 days, right? We're very...
I've never heard that.
Well, it's when you do the math.
All right.
Of course. It's very short. It's
a
blip.
Right. Very short, but that there's so much more going on. And connections of people, or when you meet people or run into people, and everyone has the power, but you have to tap into it. Or I always say I get very strong gut premonitions. I've had them my whole life. And in certain situations, they've really, in one case, saved my life. But,
I know, right?
But literally strong gut premonitions. And I've learned to trust my gut. So
you should. There's a Maya Angelou quote that it's escaping me. But no, you should always go with that.
Yeah.
And I do too.
Yeah.
And so I came in on, I don't even know what my title was. I don't know, Senior VP of Business Development, something that was so like vanilla and vague But a month after my non-compete, I was promoted to chief operating officer.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 years later, I was promoted to president. And then a year later, I was promoted to CEO.
Right.
So like I said, like you say, you know, the energy's there, you know, the possibilities are there. And I just kept focused, and I never asked for any of it. And it happened. And Daryl predicted it.
And with the dates.
Yeah. He was amazing.
That is amazing. See, there's that energy, and he's tapped into it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So we have to talk, of course, about, and then we'll get to the market and what's going on today. But Barbara Corcoran, right? Who he's certainly your mentor and who you work so closely
with. I lucked out.
Yeah, you did.
I met her.
But you came in as a broker, right?
Yes, I did. I met her. I was a sales agent. I was being recruited by the Corcoran Group because I was at AJ Clark, and I had sold one of Jeff Levitt's exclusives at the Corcoran Group.
Right.
I didn't know who the Corcoran Group was.
Right.
It was so long ago. I didn't know who Barbara was. So I got an interview with Barbara Brine and Elaine Dean, who was the assistant manager.
God, I just ran into her
the
other day. Yeah. Oh, wait, no. This summer, Shelter Island. I was with Scarlett. We were with friends and their kids. And I was talking to this young couple, and then I hear my name, and it was her daughter and son-in-law.
No kidding. Or her son and daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
So I'm being interviewed at 72nd and Broadway office that's no longer there.
Yeah, I remember, in the Apple Bank building.
Yeah. No, 200 West 72nd.
Oh, 200. Oh.
Above the hot and crusty bakery.
Yes, right. No longer there. Yeah.
So she walks in, and Barbara Brine, the manager, says, "Oh, this is Barbara Corcoran."
Right.
And I said, "Oh, it's nice to meet you." And she pulls my cheek, and she said, I was 29 then.
Yeah.
She said, "You're too young to come into real estate." And at that time, it was middle-aged women and not a lot of guys.
Right.
And then she sat on my lap and put her arm around me.
But none of this
She's
surprises me.
Yeah. "You're too young. You're just, I don't know what we'll do with you."
Right.
And then, so I didn't know why she was there. She had stopped by to tell the manager that they were going to shut that office down because the market was so bad from the crash of the late 80s.
Wow.
And she had no more money. And they were closing that, and they were only going to have 2 offices. But I didn't find this out till much later. And then, of course, the one-day sale she did for Marty Raines, and Alfred Renna was involved in that.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he was like one of the leaders of it.
I had no idea.
So it was a collection of unsold sponsor units
in this building, right?
In the South Gate, and then Lincoln Towers,
right?
And everything had the same price. So a studio was $39,000, a 1-bedroom was $49,000, and I think a 2-bedroom was $69,000. But you had to sign the contract immediately.
Right.
They sold it out in one day. We called it the one-day sale.
Amazing.
And she made $1 million commission on the whole thing, and it saved her from having to close that office.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how did you get from her sitting on?
So then, of course, we would always talk. Whenever we'd see each other at events, we would always end up sitting and talking to each other.
And you were an agent for how long?
6 years.
And then she brought you in to work with her.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. One day she said, "Can you meet me at the Peninsula Hotel at 5 o'clock at the bar?"
Right.
And I said, "Sure."
Right.
And so I show up at the Peninsula Hotel, and she's in the lobby asleep on one of the sofas.
Just gets...
And I'm like, "She start without me?"
Anyone else, it'd be alarming. It's like normal. And remember one of the first parties, it was at the Rainbow Room.
Yes.
Holiday parties. She wanted to do, or maybe the theme was "Come as you are, come as you aren't." She wanted everyone to go in drag or something, but she wore her Madonna bustier.
Yes. Yeah. And then Michael Moran tried to copy it.
Oh.
Remember that?
Yeah. Forgot that piece.
Anyway, she was asleep on the couch, and then I was like, "Hey, Barbara." And she sits up, and then she starts crying, and I didn't know her that well that I'd ever seen her cry. And I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "I can't do this anymore." I said, "What?" She said, I just can't do another day managing the company and dealing with the agents. We only had
what year? 94?
95.
Okay, yeah.
And we only had 80 agents.
Right.
But she said it was overwhelming her. And she said, this is my offer.
Oh my God.
And she said, I want you to move in with me into my office.
Yeah.
Well, we have assistants outside. It was Cheryl Martinelli.
No.
Oh, it was
We
about
just
to
talked
be.
about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said she got me an apartment and a clothing allowance.
I was going to bring up the clothing allowance.
It was a $10,000 clothing allowance.
I remember that.
And that was almost 30 years ago.
Right.
That was a lot. Still is.
Yep.
And so, yeah. And so she said, I don't want you to worry about not being dressed for the occasion. So let's go out and shop. And I said, of course I'll do it.
Right. And then your role was to help her manage and run the company.
Right. She didn't know how to use a computer.
Right.
She didn't, she had severe dyslexia. So she had, I would be behind her and like Secret Service sort of like,
whispering.
Here comes Linda Stillwell. Or,
right.
You know,
right.
Yeah, there's Marjorie Berkowitz. Her dog has a broken toe or something.
I was literally thinking about Marjorie the other day. I remember Steve, and this is like going back into, but Steve Perlow, once it was Yom Kippur or something, he wished her like, you know, an easy, fast, or happy holidays. He said, what do you do for Yom Kippur? And she said, we pause.
Isn't that Marjorie Berkowitz?
Marjorie. Yeah.
She taught me how to say banquette and foyer with a little panache, you know.
There you go.
I remember the first listing she showed me was at 315 East 68th Street that she had.
I love that.
And it was such an experience to watch her show it. I mean, she just came alive. And, you know, such talent.
It's amazing, these people.
You know.
Like Lois Pierce.
Lois Pierce.
Such characters.
Barbara. I remember the day she runs in. Barbara. I'm so excited. I just sold an apartment to Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld. I remember that.
Barbara's like, who's Jerry Seinfeld? Yeah,
and this is when Jerry was moving back after his 9 or 10 years of The Greatest Show.
Greatest Show.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she met Jerry. You know this.
I don't remember how she met him.
She was getting, Lois's hairdresser was also Jerry's sister's hairdresser. And I think Jerry's sister was doing the rounds while he was still in California. And so he connected them. And then she found the apartment at the Beresford. And then Lois flew out for the last show of Seinfeld.
Yeah. The plane crash, or whatever it was.
Amazing. Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, my claim to fame on that was it was the first time I had seen a board package like that.
Oh, with the Beresford? Yeah.
Well, and with his...
got it.
Incredible, you know.
Yeah.
He became a star and that show was a hit.
Yeah.
And he had all these cars and...
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
But it was great. Lois was wonderful. Another one gone too soon.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a nudist. Did you know that?
No. But it doesn't surprise me.
No, right.
With her belts and her high waist.
Her leather pants.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I used to imitate her, but I won't do it.
Go ahead.
No.
It's in good fun and
no, I loved her. We were
memory.
very close.
She was amazing.
She would always turn on her feet when she talked.
Sharp turn.
Yeah, like what? You know what? She's very like Betty
Dramatic.
Davis.
Yes,
but a pretty. Betty Davis.
She was awesome. All right, we can keep going through people, but so where are we now?
That was my night. Yeah. my my guardian angel, and
you're still. She said,
you know, when she was selling me the position that day on the sofa at the Peninsula, she said, we've been around each other. Normally people like you, I would be jealous of, but you never take the spotlight from me. And
wow.
Yeah, she said, when I inhale, you exhale. And she said, I can't find that anywhere. So you have to take this job.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
You were meant to be with her.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't do was go to the ladies' room with her. That's about it, you know. But everywhere else, you know, she was huge. And everyone wanted a piece of her.
Right.
It was amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and she just knew how to treat people.
Like, that's so true.
She'd give anyone her last dollar.
Yeah. She did know how to treat people, and she cared. Yeah.
She cared.
And, you know, people ask like, you know, now because she's become a bigger name, certainly outside of New York, but what you get is I mean, that's who she is.
Yeah.
That quirkiness and that she says whatever she's thinking. Yeah. She's amazing.
Yeah. She's, she was always, you know, it's funny. I've known her now all those years. There was never a disagreement. Never. Like, she didn't manage that way at all. She never, ever raised her voice or screamed or yelled, or I've never seen a personality like that.
So when she sold the company, was it sad, hard, scary for you? Because things were going to change.
Yeah, things did change.
Yeah.
And they didn't go the way they should have.
Okay.
But that happens.
Right. Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
And everything, life is a tapestry.
Yeah.
And when you look at the back, you see all the loose threads, and
of course.
But the front, you see what it was all meant to be. It led you to where you are now.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I always say the rearview mirror is small for a reason.
Yeah.
And I don't dwell on that because I learned a lot, and it made me stronger. It's sort of like when the mom or the dad marries the wrong person.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, how are we going to let everyone know that Barbara hired her opposite? She was very smart to do that.
Yeah.
And that was an adjustment. The worst part of it all was that Barbara, this was 9/11 too. Let's not forget that.
Right.
3 days after she signed the contract.
God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So that was, you know, and then she disappeared for 6 weeks. She went into mourning. She couldn't believe she sold the company. She said, that was my ship. That was my calling card. That was my currency. I have what am I going to do? Like, who am I now? And then
it was her identity for so long. And then at the Pierre, the next, you know, annual sales meeting for the whole team, we were all in the ballroom.
Right.
And a video came up. Do you remember this?
Yes.
With her in bed with Barry Kampmeyer. And she had a riding crop.
And he was our HR director.
Yes.
So, I mean, she's like really pushing the envelope.
And he was so buttoned up and right.
But he was so embarrassed.
Yeah. Yeah. A good Christian man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then, you know, things change. And it went, everyone did fine.
Of course.
She, as I say to her now, I mean, you're a huge star.
Right.
From Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's now 75 years old.
But talk about someone who said what she wanted. She said, I want to be a TV star. That's my next gig.
Yes.
She didn't know how she was getting there, what she was, you know, and then there are stories about what happened with Shark Tank and how she went back.
She didn't get cast.
Right. But she knew it and she went back. All right. So you just said something. So things change and everyone ends up okay. But if you have to look back, you could say when I started 2000 or when you started in the late 80s, early 90s, what's the biggest difference in our industry and or for brokers or agents?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the silver lining is that it's an industry now that is an acceptable form of employment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were many times, even my own parents, my mother would say, when are you going to get a job?
Right.
Like, I'm like, this is a job.
Right.
But now people come right out of school.
That's the biggest difference. So for years, people would, you know, if they're talk to someone or they want to get into it, but it was always divorcees, very few men.
Yeah.
And usually a second or third career. Now, literally, people come out of college and want to do it. It's become a real profession and run much more professionally.
Much more.
And you have to.
You're
dealing with bigger numbers. Certainly
and you can become, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's true.
If you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And we didn't know back then what we were doing. You know, I just remember Mary Jo being one of my customers. I showed them 200 apartments.
Oh my God.
We had 13,000 listings. Today we have about 6,000.
Right. Yeah.
So it was endless. And they wanted to be in any of 3 neighborhoods, West Side, East Side, downtown.
So you had to go everywhere.
Yeah. So I got paid 13 cents an hour by the time that we closed.
Right.
You know, but I mean, for me, it was one of the best experiences of my career, you know.
I love that.
Because we're so similar.
Yeah.
And I got to learn the whole city because they could live anywhere.
Right. She really, wow. You owe Mary Jo a lot.
Yeah.
With the
neck, exactly. The neck scarves.
And so and the industry where we are now, the market, what would you say?
Well, we've seen this before.
Right.
Not this layout in particular. We haven't seen these ingredients for this crazy cake, I call it.
Okay. Yeah.
High interest rates.
Yeah.
No inventory. And then rentals going through the roof.
Yeah.
And people not moving on with their lives right now because everyone the brakes were slammed on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Polar Express, right? We went off the track.
Right.
But this too shall pass, and it always has.
I like what you say about the cake, like this particular cake.
Yeah,
with
this
these
cake is
ingredients.
not coming out of the oven looking good.
But we've been through other baking situations with other cakes with different ingredients.
Yeah.
And as we say, we're always going up. So I've said to people, I got a call from someone who, again, a representative of a very important client of mine. And she's left the city and she said, can I ask you, I'm back. Is something really changed in New York? And I said, New York, like Berlin, New York is a vortex. And I truly believe there are certain areas that attract, Berlin, New York attract artists and creativity and success and not just power, but drive. And so we'll always come back. I feel like we're in a bit of a lull.
I do too.
The whole world is, unfortunately, not to get again back to too much of that, but it will come back. It always does. It reinvents itself.
If we could have survived the mortgage crisis, we can survive this.
Yeah. And we are surviving.
Yeah, we are. And it's we've had a steady previous 3 months where we're outperforming or we're flat.
Right.
And we're not
down.
Not down. So those are great signs. And money follows money. I learned that from Emily O'Sullivan. That's her favorite thing. God rest her soul.
Yes.
And it just it writes itself.
Right. Amazing.
Yeah. And I think when you're with a great brand, and that's another thing that I was such a Corcoran snob. I always thought that Douglas Elliman was like kind of an Animal House. They didn't have any rules. They didn't,
I felt the same way.
Right?
Well, it was much bigger.
Much bigger.
Was this behemoth that it felt like everyone was just doing their
thing. Do what
thing.
you want.
And Corcoran did feel tighter and more like, it was smaller and felt more like a family to me.
Same here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade this. This
Elements. It's so funny.
Amazing.
Every time we do all these events, and we were in London and Laguna, and now we're going to Palm Beach and then Europe again. And I said to Stephanie, Garbarino.
Yeah, she's in Paris right now, checking out the hotels.
There you go. Good. That's where she should be.
Yep.
So I said to her, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago or something, like, every time I go on these trips, I feel more and more like this is a family and I'm part of this.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, it is true. And, there's an article today in the Post.
Yes.
About a American Airlines flight that lasted, I want to say, 16 hours.
Okay.
And it was a 2-hour flight.
Because they kept circling, or they were grounded?
There was a storm. They were grounded.
Okay.
Then the runway lights went out because of the storm of the small airport.
Right.
Then each passenger started buying sodas, Little Caesars pizzas, and they never got to their destination until like 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
But the 76 passengers on this Canadian regional jet became so close. It's in today's Post. You have to read it.
That's amazing.
And it'll be the next musical.
Right.
Like
Come From Away.
Come
From Afar.
From Afar.
Yeah.
And, I think that's, as I'm reading that story, I'm thinking, well, that's our company.
Oh, that's amazing.
There's always I always say, and I have a lot of, I'll give you some, Lisa Reynes from our Boston operation. She heard me say it once, so she ordered like 1,000 napkins for me that say it. There's a skunk at every garden party.
Right.
And, there always is.
Right, of course.
Like, it's fun. You have to have someone to laugh at, right?
That's true.
But for the most part, we're a very tight group. I think our
good.
London trip was just outrageous.
Very special. There's some really smart, successful, and good people here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And yeah, there's always the runt and the litter or whatever you call it, or skunk at the garden party.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. So there you have it. Wow, that was, that went long. And
Really?
we kind of got lost and I could keep going.
I thought some people from my childhood were going to show up.
This
Aunt
is your
B.
life. Aunt B. Okay.
Barbara Mandrell or Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton, exactly. Okay, so thank you for tuning in, Scott. This was awesome.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Thank you for sharing all that. So stay tuned for our next episode, and you can find me on Instagram, Stephen Cohen NY. Where are you on Instagram?
Scott J. Durkin.
Scott J. Durkin.
Yeah.
And leave your comments, questions below, and thanks for tuning in. Bye.